Brexit Bay, the new book, 2029, the new finger, perfectly recovered. Brexit 2029 by Michael Fitzallen, Chapter 4. I collected my thoughts. All I had to do was steer. Driving barefoot was a little strange at first, but I soon got used to it. But the acceleration was so brisk and the brakes were so sharp compared to the truck I was used to driving that I was paranoid that I would take a bend too fast. It was clear that the heading I should make would be for the border. It would be the safest bet for survival. Whoever had drugged us had failed in my case, just too little. Adrenaline was fueling my recovery. The drug was wearing off, I could tell. I felt less helpless. I could feel that my mouth was dry. I was becoming more aware. That had to be a positive sign. However, heading for the border would also drive me straight into Lawless's security guards. They patrolled all the entrances and exits into Poseidon Bay. I was being blamed for drowning his son, and I think my explanation would have received the same response as I got from everyone on the beach. I had managed to survive the sea. I needed to survive Poseidon Bay. Was there no one who could help me? Suddenly, I remembered the girl in the shop. Where did she say she lived? Rover's Rest. I pulled over into the gateway of a field and punched the name into the satellite navigation system. I cannot multitask. There were hundreds of cottages with the name, but only one in Poseidon Bay. It was 10 minutes away, back into enemy territory, admittedly. I risked bumping into one of Lawless's patrols, but 10 minutes to relative safety seemed like a reasonable risk. I had very few other choices, and bursting through a checkpoint and being riddled with bullets did not seem a sensible one to me. Driving a little further down the road, I came to junction and performed the most perfect three-point turn I have ever had. The car was a dream to drive. No traffic coming, I pulled off and headed for the refuge, singing The Wild Rover. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more, will I play the Wild Rover, no, never, no more. The car roared as I powered it down the narrow lane towards safety. I screeched to a halt outside a nondescript Cornish bungalow built in the 1970s. Scrambling out of the car, I grabbed my clothes from the back seat. Kate came out immediately. She was wearing white shorts and a navy polo shirt. She looked far prettier than she did in the shop. Her hair was down, and it reached her shoulders. Kate did not comment on how well the swim shorts she had sold me fitted me. She shut the door of the car and pinned me against the door as if she was going to punch me. Her face was in mine, and she hissed angrily at me. What are you doing here, in one of Lawless's cars? I'm in trouble. I heard. It's all over the 5 o'clock news. I heard it on the bus on the way over. People are tweeting and messaging about it. Will you help me? Well, you haven't helped yourself, have you? Why didn't you dump the car? They'll track that car in no time. You're as good as dead. The transponder, of course. What was I meant to do? I would have dumped the car at the nearest car club point and picked up a car there. That would get you here, and with a lot more time to figure out what to do next. Well, what can I do? If they catch you, you're dead. Get changed. The clothes are in the kitchen. There's a boat you can use. Thank my giddy aunt. My parents aren't back from work, but they're due soon, so for flip's sake, hurry up. The boat's down there, she said, pointing down the path before she set off down it herself. Looking over her shoulder, I could see the path snaking down to the sea. Turning on my heel, I rushed into the house. Inside there was one of those floral sofas and a matching armchair in the lounge, 1950s furniture in a 1970s house. There was a wall of glass that looked out into the sea. The sliding doors. There was no one else there, so I stripped as if I were leaving a burning oil rig and dressed in my clothes. Passing by the fridge, I helped myself to a small bottle of water. Kate had left a pair of Levi jeans and a thick corduroy shirt folded on the breakfast bar. There was no underwear, so I had to go commando. Barefoot, I walked to the back door and put on a pair of pristine men's boots. They looked new. Kate's dad's. Obviously looked after his clothes. I should have grabbed a jumper from Kate's parents' room, but I did not think of it at the time, fool that I was. I was outside and following Kate down the path before you could say, they're coming to get you. It was a small cove on a shale beach, and I stood by my saviour, Kate. She had already wheeled the trailer into the sea, and was knee-deep in the water. She felt the cold. She was shivering, and there were goose pimples on her arms, fine hair standing up. The boat floated off its cradle, and she held it for me. I didn't do it, I announced as she stared truculently at me. Just get in. There's no time for explanations. I did as I was told. I did not even bother to complain about the temperature of the water. We were both drugged, I protested. You don't look drugged to me. Don't I sound it? Do you want to get caught? I'm helping you, all right? Get in. I grabbed a small mineral bottle water from the fridge on my way down, I explained, holding up the bottle for her to see. Get going, or you might not live to enjoy it. She held the boat as I climbed in at the back. The propeller scraped on the shell shore as I stepped in. Thanks, Kate. She pulled the gunnels along in the water, feeding them through her fingers like a rope. Then she pushed me off. Pull the cord. It's like a mower. I've never had a garden. The boat bobbed on the water, drifting very slowly out to sea. It was hardly going to get me beyond the bay. Just pull the cord hard, you plunker. No, don't stand up and do it. Lean forward and pull with your left hand. That's it. The engine spluttered. She encouraged me to try again, and the motor grumbled into life. She told me to twist the throttle, and the boat launched forward. It was still light, but it was getting cold, and all I had was my polo shirt. I shivered. Thanks. Turning round, I waved. She waved back, a solitary movement of the hand, mirroring mine. That was when I noticed the lights on the hill above the cottage. They were headlights, and as I made it to the headland, I saw the security men running down to join Kate on the beach. I stopped waving and pointed to the armed men behind her. She stared frantically, waving me off to the left. Her palm of her left hand seemed to be trying to push the boat around the cove. I immediately steered off at an angle and looked back. She was waving even more urgently. I figured out that she wanted me to get in the shadow of the point and turned sharply to the left, not 45 degrees, but 90. The cove exploded around me. It was like a bomb had gone off, and I literally felt the bullet whiz past me. I could not believe it. It was like a wasp passing my ear. I tried to open up the throttle even more, but it was at full power. Another wasp whizzed past me. Silence weapons. I slipped down into the bottom of the boat. I was fast approaching the rocks that surrounded the point. I dare not look back. I just focused on staying in the shadow of the point and getting around it. A blinding light lit up the sky like a lightning bolt, followed by the sound of a giant sigh filling the air. Then a thump and explosion. The rocks ahead of me were obliterated, sending a shower of rocks flying into the air. My ears were ringing, and the shock wave from the explosion pushed me against the bottom of the boat, winding me so badly that I could not move. My hand remained steadfastly on the tiller. I did not waver from the direction of my escape. Only one or two large pieces of cliff top made it into the small boat, striking my right arm and left leg. The pain was excruciating, but I held on to that throttle. A shower of gravelly pieces showered down on me. It was like being stoned by gravel, but I guided the boat as a hail of bullets thudded into the rock above me. I heard a bullet hit the gunwale just above the waterline. It should have embedded in my kneecap, but by some miracle it missed. The destruction of the rock at the end of the point actually allowed me to escape the cove more easily. Just as well, because I heard the sound of a GPMG firing. Those general-purpose machine guns have 7.62 bullets, and I've seen them slice someone in half during the riots against deportation in Manchester. I will always remember the cackle of those rifles and machine guns. I recognised it. The sound made my skin crawl, and I shuddered. Successfully rounding the cape, I sped off along the coast, east, away from Poseidon Bay. The big black boats would be scrambling their crews and manning their searchlights. They would be hunting the coast for me. I watched the wake behind me, looked for a suitable place to go ashore. I was conscious that the shore patrols would be mounted, but equally I had no choice. I had no idea how long the fuel would last in this little boat. The engine coughed, spluttered and died. The tide was taking me out to sea, and there was not a single thing that I could do. And that is the beginning of chapter 4. Thank you. He escapes from Poseidon Bay.